Good afternoon and welcome to the panel discussion on online archives and media art collections. My name is Sofia Abasheva and I represent the team of Open Database of Interdisciplinary Art in Russia, a research and educational project launched by the European University in St. Petersburg and Techno Art Center. The objective of the project is to reconstruct the authentic discourse of interdisciplinary art practices in Russia since the beginning of the 20th century up to the present, focusing especially on the past 30 years in order to catch and preserve what is rapidly disappearing with technologies becoming obsolete. By conducting a profound research of the Russian and Soviet practices at the intersection of art and science, we endeavored to create a database as unbiased, comprehensive, and open as possible, with a timeline and built-in research tools that would permit scholars of a wide range of disciplines to use it as a source for Russian media and technological art exploration. With our database, we aim to show that technological, media, and science art in Russia requires consideration as a local process that is taking place in a dialogue with global technical and creative progress. Thus, we intend to promote the study of Russian media and technological art and enhance cooperation between different art and research institutions holding media art collections and archives. We hope to create a thematic art history resource that would join together the art community and art researchers in Russia and abroad, as some of the Russian media artists have taken part in the International Symposium of Electronic Art and Ars Electronica events, and we will be bound to provide cross-references to these archives, while others have taken part, have Ukrainian connections since our countries once used to be one state. So let today's panel discussion be a step in that direction. As a moderator of today's panel, I have the privilege to introduce our speakers. We are happy to open the series of our public events program with such prominent figures as Wim van der Plas, the co-founder and archivist of the International Symposium of Electronic Art, Michael Mondria, the Managing Director of Ars Electronica Solutions, Yanina Prudenko, the Curator of the Open Archive of Ukrainian Media Art, and Rodrigo Guzman Serrano, Media Art Researcher at the City University of Hong Kong. We are here today to discuss the experience of the major institutions in the field of media art conservation and new ambitious projects, and also to highlight major practical challenges of online archiving and possible ways of cooperation to address them. Let me briefly outline the procedure of today's meeting. First, our speakers will give their presentations, and after that, a 20-minute question and answer session will follow. I invite our audience to post their questions in the chat of our streaming so that I could collect them and pass on to the speakers. Now, I'm giving floor to the first speaker, Wim van der Plas.
Thank you, Sophie. I am a sociologist interested in art and popular culture and the relationship between art and science. And together with my friend, the computer scientist Theo Hesper, we started ISEA in the 80s. 1988 was the first one, and in the meantime, 26 ones, international symposia on electronic art, not of, have been held. Started small and it became quite big and well known. We didn't want to start another festival because there was already one called Ars Electronica, and so our intentions were to create a more academic affair where we would have a real meeting between academics and or scientists really and artists. I'm not completely sure that aim really succeeded. because at ISEA you see mainly artists, although many of them are academics as well, but not hard scientists. That remains a challenge. Okay, the characteristic of ISEA is that it is nomadic. It is held in a different city, in a different country every time. And this has advantages and disadvantages. And one of the advantages is, especially since ISEA became a bit more prestigious, is that it's possible to collect the funding for organizing a symposium, because it's a one-time event in this or that city, you know, either in Korea or in South Africa or in Colombia, to mention a few of the more recent ones. Since it's a one-time affair and it's prestigious, people are able to raise the funds to organize the symposium. ISEA itself is a foundation. It's called ISEA International, and it has no money except for a fee that the organizers of a symposium are supposed to pay to the foundation in order to pay for a secretariat. For the rest, everybody who works on ISEA does it as a volunteer, both the board, the International Advisory Committee, and the archivists. Now, I want to show you a little bit of the archive, but as I said, a nomadic symposium also has disadvantages, and one of them was that there was never a central place where the products of the symposia were systematically collected, except that I always took everything I could lay my hands on. Of course, the proceedings and the catalogues, but also the flyers and any information, even the badges, well, the badges and the oh, that was a pin. This is a badge. You know, all these things, I have them of almost any year. So I have cupboards full of those things and of videos, slides, etc. So in around 2006, we managed to get a subsidy from the Mondria Foundation here in Holland that allowed us to start an online archive. And in the meantime, we have built the second version of that. That's rather complete, and I want to show you that, but before I do that, I'll tell you that we have started a third version of the symposium, and that I will show too, and we will compare the two. That's what my talk is about. So let me share my screen and show you the classic archive, as we like to call it nowadays. Is my screen visible?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. I must have done something wrong then. Oh, sorry. I needed to push a start button as well. Now you're looking at ourselves, I guess. And now we see the classic archive, right? Your microphone is off, I think, Sophie.
I see that.
Okay. So this is the homepage of the symposium, and pointing at the main menu. The first and the last page is just one page. This one is general information about the archive and a news section, including the summit we recently did at ISEA 2020. And the last page is a collection of media art archives. Yesterday I added this one because I had not heard of it before. And these are articles that are in the ISEA Symposium archives on archiving of media art. So if anybody has any contributions to this page, if you know of media art archives that are not here yet, send them to me. You'll find the address at the bottom here where you can send them to. The main pages are these two. This is the publications that came out of the ISEA Symposia. I have opened, they do not always open very quickly, so I opened a catalog before. This was last year's one, ISEA 2019, and it's here completely. And I opened a proceedings. This one is of 2017 in Colombia, and it's more exciting because it has more images. So at that page of proceedings and catalogs and other publications, you'll find a treasure of information. Go back to the archive. The main component of the archive are the symposium pages. Here you have them all listed. You can also see them like this with their individual logos. And if you open one, like what I'm doing now is entering the data for the symposium we had on October, the online one, you'll first find a page with an overview page that gives you general information about this particular ISEA and the organizing and all the other committees. The next page is presentations, that is the academic part of the symposium, and each entry has an abstract connected to it. In this case, including the video of the, since it was online, there are videos of of each presentation. First the abstract, then the bio of the person who presented, and what will be added later is a link to the proceedings where the full paper is located. Go back one page and go to the next one. That's workshops. There are usually not so many workshops, so that's a shorter page with the same principle. There will be a description and a bio, and in this case a photo. And the last one of these symposium pages is the art events. And again, it's the same idea. You have the artist's statement, in this case a image and a link to a video, and the bio. So we have that for all these years, and it's quite complete. It's mainly data and nothing else. And we thought it would be better to have a more audiovisual archive that's more exciting to look at, but also more informative. And also this is a simple WordPress website, and it's sort of at its, you cannot add much more or it will explode. I'm not so technical, but that's how I understand it. So we started a new archive. It's mainly Bonnie Mitchell and Jan Searleman in the USA who are working on this together with students and other volunteers. And this one, I'm showing you looking at the back side now. When I want to look at the front side, it will look like this, which, as you can see, is more visual. You can choose a symposium here, as in the other one. It's a bit slower, strange enough. It runs on a SIGGRAPH server, whom SIGGRAPH is a very big American conference on computer graphics and interactive techniques, not exclusively on art, but a very important conference. And we have a liaison with them, and they provide us with this server, which provides us with much more space and possibilities. If you can choose here any contributor you want, like all of them, or just people that were in an art jury, or artists, or authors, or people that were in a committee, etc., etc. If you choose one, you can, of course, when I open this, you will get an alphabet from which you can choose a person that you want to search for. Like, for example, let's try Escott to take a well-known name, and then you'll find a page with everything Roy Escott did at the, I did something wrong, I think I went to page on. You'll find everything that Roy Escott did at any ISEA. So he was in the program committee of the, I don't know why this is happening. He was in the program committee, he was a speaker, he was in a jury at the several symposia. And then for some reason I keep ending up with Adrian M. and Claire B., whoever that may be. They were in the symposium in 2015. This means I've spent 10 minutes, so I'll make it short. In short, I can go from anywhere to anywhere in this archive, and this makes it possible to have a lot of cross-referencing, also to visualize data, etc. However, the disadvantage of this whole system is that, for me, that is for anybody that's in the archive, you have to enter a page. So if I want to add a new person, if there is a new person who has not been performing at any ISEA before, I have to fill out this complete list here. First name, their naming, their gender, their what kind of role they played, their affiliation department. And of course, people have many affiliations and they have been at several departments in their life, and they have several locations, and all of that needs to be entered into this one page for each person. And as you can see from the earlier archive, we sometimes have all these people, like this incredibly long list of people that are in the International Program Committee of this year. For the new archive, we have to enter each of them with all these data, and because everything is much more predefined in order to make all this cross-referencing possible. And that's makes it less easy than a simple WordPress archive like this, where I can just copy and paste this whole list in, you know. Okay, that was more or less my talk, because I think time is up. I'll go back to stop sharing my screen if I still can find out how to do that.
Thank you very
Yes.
much for your...
I can't hear you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And I remind that we will ask questions after all presenters give their talks. And now I'm giving floor to Michael Mondria, representing Ars Electronica. Michael, could you please?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm Michael Mondria from Ars Electronica, long time in Ars Electronica, and I will share with you in these 10 minutes a little bit the background and as well what we are doing in terms of the archive and archiving things. And so I will start to share my screen to give you some background about this activity. So we start maybe to give something historically what is Ars Electronica about. And I want to say that Ars Electronica has a lot of different facets, and it was founded in '79, and the vision that we have is still the same. So it's about these three terms. It's about technology. What does technology with us humans what is technology about the influencing of society, and what can we do as humans and as a society to more or less have some control over this, have some input, how this influence is developed. And so these two terms, technology and society, are very important for us. But the third term is really the important thing from a perspective of art. And so what we have done over the more than 4 decades is to develop I would say an organic institution, the Ars Electronica, that starts, of course, with a festival. And I'll just give you a brief overview about the different areas of Ars Electronica. The festival that is each year with a topic that what we think that is really important for us humans for the next 5 to 10 years to discuss and to create visions about it. And for the festival, we are really going out to the public and inviting scientists and artists from all over the world to be part of that. And it's big, so we have in these 4 days of the festival about 110,000 visitors being here in Linz, together with something around 1,600 artists and scientists showing the projects with us in this time and with a totally different way of formats. And really important part of Ars Electronica is as well the pre-Ars Electronica. It's founded in '87, and it's I would say one of the important competitions in media art, where we get in different categories each year thousands of submissions of already done projects in media art. And this is for me really a treasure, because it starts really early in '87, and we have a huge collection, and I will show some aspects of this collection then a little bit later. But as well, I would just briefly mention that we have as well other activities as well that we that are relevant for an archive. So we have a big center that we are using for creating exhibitions for current topics. We have the Ars Electronica Future Lab as a research entity that bridges Ars Electronica to the academic world. We have Ars Electronica Export because we understand us as a platform for artists that give artists as well a base and a shield in a way to really activate the projects they did. And these exhibitions that we do with Ars Electronica Export are really curated exhibitions there. We invite a lot of artists to be part of. And we have the Ars Electronica Solutions that bridges Ars Electronica in a way to the third-party world, to the industry, to the economy. And so all of these facets give an input to the archive. And just to show you somehow a little bit about this archive, it's really started really early. So as I said, we had really a lot of facets that are worth to be put in the archive. And so we have developed the archive in different ways. We started, of course, we have a huge physical archive as well. So in 2009, we have the possibility to enlarge our facilities. So we have a huge rooms, air-conditioned rooms to storage all the, say, haptical things, the analog things in this archive, and do then the digitalization a little bit later on. Here you see some images. The documentation material that is stored there comes from the festival, from all of the facets I mentioned, and of course a main part of that are the pre-Ars Electronica, which are hosting thousands of projects of media art. And this physical archive is, of course, being, say, in parallel, we created the the first version of a digital archive in 2001, and we constantly they grade it up because we have all these requirements and the changing of technology as well, to be able and to get the budget as well for digitalizing a lot of stuff that comes from the earliest in the 80s, 90s. So to be able to store this stuff as well. And what we create is inside this digital archive, we have a lot of different data that we stored in this digital archive. You see that from videos, audios, images, person data, project data, event data, print and text, news, files, but we don't store software. So this is a very important part, I think. The input, as I said, comes from all these facets, and they're really a huge archive. In the meantime, just with the pre-Ars Electronica, we have more than 70,000 projects from internationally that are reflecting different kind of media works in different categories. And what we have done then, out of this internal archive where we store all this data, and this is just, can be accessed with a special access key to it, mainly for research and for universities. But we as well created an online archive where we put on a lot of, say, parts of the archive in a curated way, I would say. And one of the things what we do is here, for instance, of course, all the pre-Ars Electronica submissions. Not all, we would make a selection because there are more than 70,000. So all the winner projects are presented as a showcase in this archive, and you can access this archive online. So you have here, you see it here now in real time. These are all the winner projects from 87 to 2020. 2020 is missing at the moment. We are currently working on the adding the winners of 2020. And what you see here is, of course, what we present in this archive. So a lot of information about the catalog text and the credits and the biographies of the artists, but as well, of course, digital content that shows in a way a little bit, so to say, the work. If there is a video or if there are images or print files or something like that. So this is one way we present the pre-Ars Electronica. The other ways, of course, we have thousands of images that are in the context of art. And so we have as well created a selection of these images in our pictures archive, as well from the early beginning of Ars Electronica in '79 up to now, where you can search for and create, search for special contents in that. We have as well created a selection of the print file or the print archive. The print archive, of course, is reflecting all the print material that is done in the field around Ars Electronica from '79 on. So all the catalogs and all the things that we have produced and are produced in the context of the festival are here available. And as well, a very nice online access is to look at the pre-map, we called it. It shows in a way all the winner projects in a different way. So you see here the graphical, the georeferenced, say artists, where they come from, and so you can go back into history with this, and as well see a nice journey from from the 80s to now, where the world as well has shifted in a way, because it's really reflected in this competition as well, what is possible in which country, in which time, to create artworks. So I think this is just a brief overview. I just show you briefly. There's as well a selection of talks and lectures from the festivals that we have done so far in these 40 years, where you can hear two lectures, and this of course a selection that are not all the lectures and talks that we have in the archive. And there is as well a very special archive, the Women in Media Arts, because we are really looking to support this as well a lot. So where you can select media artworks from, especially from women from all over the world. The last thing I would show to you are some perspectives as well in the future. What we are doing currently is as well to create installations like this, a vector space we called it. It's using AI in a way to give a different access to the archive. So an AI that categorizes all the artworks that we have in the pre-Ars Electronica with using AI in that sense, that it so groups the projects on similarities that the AI found in the text and in the images that are coming with the artworks. And so I think this is as well a very interesting perspective for the future. Yeah, I think I'm done with my 10 minutes. I hope I give you some interesting view about what we are doing at Ars Electronica with the archive. And I think it's really, I have to say it, because it's always a fight for us. We are a cultural institution, and so for the archive, it's always very difficult to get money around to really do this base work for having, so to say, the chance to digitalize in a way, to archive the artworks in that way that they can be accessed, so to say, from the public. And so it's very difficult to really as well find the environment and as well organizations that really support this in a way that it can show up to the public. But I think there is a lot there, and there is a lot of connections as well to other archives, and I would be really happy to proceed in that way, because I really think it's a treasure that should be open to the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you for wonderful and very visual insights into Ars Electronica archive. And our next speakers are Yanina Prudenko and Anton Lapov, from representing the Open Archive of Ukrainian Media Art.
Hello, thank you very much. My name is Yanina Prudenko, and I'm representing today on this beautiful event, Open Archive of Ukrainian Media Art. Now I'm sharing my screen and you can see our website. Yes. Now I'll use my 7 minutes to describe for you very briefly the phenomenon of post-Soviet Ukrainian media art. Despite the fact that there are no institutions, art schools, or museums for media art in Ukraine, its history goes back almost 30 years. When I started to investigate early Ukrainian video art in 2008, I discovered that it exists only in the form of anecdotes and on VHS cassettes. In 2008, I started to teach a course dedicated to the history and theory of media art in one of the universities in Kiev. When I started teaching, I had the aim to tell the history of Ukrainian media art, and I soon realized that it had not been told or constructed. There was very little secondary literature. So I had to meet and interview artists and curators who had worked with media art in the early 1990s. I recovered the stories to create a narrative of Ukrainian media art history for the first time, especially for my students. As I understood from interviews, the interest of Ukrainian artists in video art was due to several reasons. First of all, Western technologies have started slowly to become available to artists, like to all other people in the territories of the former USSR. For example, almost all early Kiev video art was filmed on one borrowed video camera. The second reason was the newly discovered freedom that Ukrainian artists felt. With the fall of the Soviet Union, they were no longer required to create art according to certain rules. For example, one of those rules was the requirement to create traditional and classic forms of art with traditional mediums like painting, sculpture, architecture, theater, literature, music. I invited you to visit the website of Open Archive of Ukrainian Media Art in the section titled Artworks. You can see some early Ukrainian video artworks from Kiev, Odessa, Lviv, Kherson, and other cities. Some of the artists and curators brought me in our meetings VHS cassettes, which I started to digitize in my homemade lab in the kitchen. Eventually, I started to collaborate with Center for Contemporary Art in Kiev, which used to be CCA Soros in the past. In the middle of the 1990s, two CCA Soros were opened in Ukraine, in Kiev and in Odessa. In Ukraine, these institutions had advanced labs, techniques and budgets for the development of digital art, unlike in other former USSR territories. They launched the first workshops, exhibitions, and festivals of digital art in Ukraine. They raised the first generation of Ukrainian digital artists. However, as the subsequent history of Ukraine showed, it was unfortunately an artificial born baby. When CCA Soros closed in Kiev and Odessa at the beginning of the 2000s, it became clear that Ukraine was absolutely unprepared to support and to develop such kind of art without the help of Western institutions. Those Ukrainian digital artists who grew up in CCA Soros went to TV and advertising business. Now it seems to me that it was the main goal of CCA Soros in the 1990s to raise technicians for the new post-Soviet capitalistic reality. In the late 2000s, appeared a completely new generation of young Ukrainian media artists who grew up at a computer keyboard as digital natives. I need to emphasize that there are a few gaps between all these three generations of Ukrainian artists. Artists who started the experiments with video cameras at the beginning of the 1990s, digital artists raised by CCA Soros, and these new native-born young media artists. There is a very simple explanation for this. All these artists never had the possibility to teach in art educational institutions like art colleges. Even today, all these institutions are still in their infancy and have never met the requirements of the time. For example, no Ukrainian art academy or art school or art college has a department for new media art. There are a very good example or also a bad situation of how little has changed in state education in Ukraine since Soviet time. And finally, let me tell you very briefly a few words about the Open Archive of Ukrainian Media Art. This is a completely independent project that I have been doing since 2008. From time to time, I'm joined by other researchers who, as volunteers, help me with various tasks. Today, my colleague Anton Lapov will tell you about recent research of Eastern Ukrainian media art and sound art. Anton is the person who will take over from me as a curator now that I'm stepping back into the position of researcher. In 2013, the archive received a small non-government grant for the creation of its website, and thanks to this, you can partially get acquainted with the archive database. Why partially? Because we adhere the license rules of Creative Commons and share on our website only those videos that were posted online by the artists themselves. Besides the video, you can also read the research of Ukrainian media art by my colleagues from different regions of Ukraine. And now I invite my dear friend and colleague Anton Lapov to continue our report, and I'm stopping to share the screen.
Hello, thanks Yanina for great introduction. Thank you also very much for inviting me to join such a interesting discussion. And I'm quite new to the question of archiving and digitalization of media art, but on the other hand, I came from historical background, and for me it's very interesting how I can introduce my competence in history in the realm of preservation and research of media art. And as you understand, Ukraine is quite, and considered until now, it's quite periphery to the main media art center. That's why we are in kind of maybe difficult situation, but from my point of view, we also have kind of advantages in terms of that we don't have any institutional structure, not for media arts or new media art, even for more or less contemporary art. So, okay, let me share my screen. And I try to be as quick as possible. So this is my short presentation. And I just would like to concentrate on what is interesting for me as a researcher in Open Archive of Ukrainian Media Art. So I just concentrate on three questions, which is quite simple, but on the other hand, is very complicated. What is Ukrainian media art? It's first question. And in these terms, we are connecting to the kind of dimension about cultural and intellectual colonization and self-colonization. What is media art in general? And here, as for me, it's also a dimension of finding of new definition of what is media art in general, what is new media art. And slowly, we also, especially here in Ukraine, we also, me at least, trying to reconsider what is art at all. So here, as you see, one of my main environment when I'm from time to time trying to collect some information for our databases is a flat of one of Ukrainian hacker who is trying to search for satellites and doing any other research in circuit bending and so on. So for me, in general, my participation in Open Archive, it's more like close to anthropological experience or ethnographical experience. So mostly I collect interviews, recording long audio interviews and collecting experience of different people. So here you can see, for instance, one of the first, it's like a draft of one of the first digital sampler built in, I guess, maybe in post-Soviet Union. It is built by Vlad Kramer, a Donetsk engineer in 1991. So, but it's a very interesting story behind this, and this is the question: what is Ukrainian media art and media art at all? So Vlad Kramer was like engineer. He didn't receive any artistic education, and being in total isolation at the beginning of 90s in the Donbass, in Donetsk, he heard a lot of Western music. So, but he didn't know anything about sampling. So he decided to invent their own sampler on top of old Soviet analog synthesizer Alisa. So he is basically a digital part of the synthesizer. So he came to the question, what is media art? Here's another example. As you see here, we are in the kitchen, in the regular kitchen in flat, where some technical inventors trying to build some kind of machine. So we can ask, what is it? Is it media art or not? I think that these guys don't see themselves inside kind of art institution frameworks. So they built it for themselves. But in general, here I would like to stress on the kind of huge underlying subculture of technical inventors who was very popular in Soviet Union during Soviet times, but it was not similar to a hackerspace culture which emerged in Europe. It was like a culture which was based on a kind of lack of resources. And if we also concentrate on the question, what is art? Here I can maybe show some fresh incoming data to Open Archive of Ukrainian Media Art. Here we see video documentation of performance which happened in 1998 in Luhansk city, which is now kind of in gray zone, as you maybe know. And for what we see here, maybe this is like usual rock concert, or maybe this is kind of performance, we don't know. But as for me, I would like to stress that if we are talking about what is media art and art at all, we also need to find new methodologies how to research it and archive it. So maybe for me, I would like to stress that for me, maybe it's more interesting to see it's not like the production of artwork, but this kind of the example of collective experience. So, and here maybe it's better to use methodology of anthropology, where we can use it these documents of experience, of collective experience as subtext, which we can decode or preserve. So this is kind of my short presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Anton and Yanina. And now the floor goes to Rodrigo Guzman Serrano, representing the City University of Hong Kong.
Thank you. Okay. Sharing my screen. Hello, everyone. Thank you. I'm going to try to be very, very fast. I am an art historian. I am based in Hong Kong at the moment, and I work with media art, art and technology, art and science, and I also have worked with different archives and in different places. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the projects that I've been involved in the past, and hopefully bring about some questions and problems of documenting media art. I'm going to talk about two projects that I was involved before I came to Hong Kong. The first one is web archiving, and the second one is the archive of digital art, which you might be familiar with. The first one is web archiving at NYArc. NYArc is a consortium of libraries in New York. These are the libraries of the Frick Collection, Moma, the Museum of Modern Art, and the Brooklyn Museum. And since 2013, they have started a web archiving project. What is web archiving? Web archiving is the practice of harvesting websites as they appear on the live web at a given point in time with storage of the web capture in a standard file format for future preservation and access. So basically capturing the website not only as an image, but as a functionality. The way that we did the web archiving at NYArch is through Archivist, which is a software developed by the Internet Archive, and we created 10 thematic collections. And this is one of the first issues that I want to raise is the importance of curated collections in these archives of online content. Our collections were related to art resources, artist websites, auction houses, Catalogue resume, New York City galleries, and websites related to the restitution of lost or looted art, and also institution-based collections like the institutions from the consortium, Brooklyn Museum, Frick, Moma, and NYArch. I want to stress that this is not an archive of media art, but it's an archive of web content that is of art historical relevance. This is the distribution of the websites that NYArch collects. As you can see, most of the biggest chunk is New York City galleries, but also Catalogue resumes, auction houses, and art resources in general. In a total, a little bit more than 300, today closer to 400 websites. Why is it important to capture art content online? Well, first of all, because there's been a shift in the production of online content of art historical resources. You might not know that actually in the last 5 or so years, most Catalogue resumes are only published online. They are not being produced as books anymore. This is the case of Joaquin Torres Garcia's Catalogue resume, which only exists online. So it's very important to find strategies to capture it. This is a web archive version of Joaquin Torres Garcia's website, Catalogue resume. As you can see, there is a banner on top, which shows information related to the capture, when it was captured, which collection it relates to, and also link to all versions that have been archived. Another big thing is projects that only exist online and that are more interactive. This is a capture of the London Gallery Art Project, which is a resource created a few years back where some researchers were mapping the development of art galleries in London from the late 19th century to the early 20th century. So this is an interactive map, but it lives on an institutional university website. And the problem with these projects is that once the researcher or the principal investigator leaves the institution, these websites often just get disregarded and they get down. And another aspect of the importance of this is trying to connect with existing databases. And one of the priorities was to connect to databases like WorldCat, so that you would search for a gallery website, like say Gladstone Gallery, and you would have links to the live website and the archived website. Now, I want to talk really quick a little bit about one of the projects that I was personally involved in, which was archiving online content at Moma.org. I was based at Moma. As you know, Moma.org is the website of the Museum of Modern Art in in New York. And I was very interested at that time in these little websites that Moma produces for special exhibitions. They will have an exhibition, they would have the catalog, but they will also do a little mini website. And these websites exist in a kind of independent aesthetics, and they are self-contained, and they are fully functional within themselves. So I was very interested in these little websites that Moma creates. So I started to archive them more specifically, like this one for the George Seurat exhibition. These independent microsites or mini sites are a little bit about over 200 websites. As you can see the breakdown here, they pertain to exhibitions, projects, specific conservation projects, education projects, and a total of 206 relevant websites for art historical purposes. The importance of this is that they also tell the story of the early internet. The first mini site from Moma was in 1995 for the Annette Messenger exhibition. So it's also important in terms of keeping a historical record of the development of the website. As you can see here in this website, is a really primitive website with very low quality of the images, and with a kind of next and back buttons that you don't really see anymore in contemporary websites. So it read more like of the logic of the linear logic of the early internet, which is very important. Another one from those early projects was at Moma was a project called Internet from 1998, which was more like an early blog where the curator Barbara London, who is the first media art curator of Moma, went to Russia and Ukraine to talk to local artists and try to document that through the website. The interesting thing is that this was not an exhibition project. This was a completely online project back in the late 90s. So if you look on the top of your image here, there's also a timeline of the curator's journey in Moscow, Odessa, Kiev, and other parts of Russia and Ukraine. So it also follows this linear logic. Now you might be familiar with many of these artists, so I will just skip that. But it's one of the projects that I will also document. Some of the challenges that we encounter is when the internet began to be mostly Flash, and capturing Flash websites, which were very popular in the early 2000s, was a nightmare. As you can see, this one is it's a Flash cloud, and there is a error message on the bottom, which was impossible for us to get rid of. So this is one of the things that we need to consider when archiving websites of specifically historical periods. And now that Mac doesn't support Flash, is also a big problem. Now I just want to finish this part of Moma by talking about the importance of making these curated collections. Before 2016, you could access all these interactive mini websites through moma.org in a website called Multimedia, which you used to find at the bottom of the website under a tab called Explore and then Multimedia. But in 2016, Moma redesigned and revamped the whole website. And now all these websites are not accessible. They are still online, but you can only access them if you have already the link. So it's impossible to browse them through the live moma.org right now. So it emphasizes the importance of creating these curated collections of web content. And also, we cannot rely entirely on the Internet Archive automatic capturing, and that's also kind of the importance of this project. This is the same Internet website project, but the automated capture by the Internet Archive. As you can see, there is some images that are missing and they are not linked because the capture is not made by a human, but just automatic crawling. So it's important to have quality control of these websites. Okay, I just really quickly want to jump into another project. After I moved out of New York, I was working in Austria with the Archive of Digital Art, which is one of the oldest archives of digital art, started in 1999. And it's housed now at the Danube University in Krems, started by Professor Oliver Grau. This is ADA now, formerly known as the Database of Virtual Art. And there are three main components of the archive that we're working on. The first one is my 10 minutes are past, so I'm just going to wrap up. The first one is the institutional profile. Which is, as the people in the panel have already talked about, it's important to also document which institutions have been involved with digital art and media art through throughout the years. So we created institutional profiles of specific places and tried to pinpoint their specialization within media art or contemporary art in general. The other one is profiles specific to artworks, and Professor Grau had the idea of really using these profiles to document these artworks to the biggest extent, with descriptions and also with documentation of the technology. And the last big chunk of it is the personal artist profiles, as you can see to the right. Now, what maybe makes ADA different from other archives and from the other archives that we have been talking about here is that it's built and it's intended as a social website. So in fact, we didn't really work much on the data collection because we invited artists to work on their own profiles. So it's based on the idea of artists documenting their own work and inputting their own information, and participating basically just, you know, willingly or not. So this could potentially mean a richer archive, but we can also run into problems that I just want to talk about a little bit later. The archive of digital art is divided into, you can search through dates, genres, artist categories, events, institutions, keywords. Here I just want to point out that because it's such an old archive, the archive itself has become a little bit of a historical document, because if you look at the genre list, some of these genres are like words that you wouldn't use necessarily today in archives, like glitch art, which, you know, it kind of has a historical kind of meaning. So the archive itself is already a document of the history of digital art. I just wanted to, this is also profiles for specific publications and exhibitions, because everything is connected, like the ISEA archives in a way. I just want to finish by talking about what are the possibilities of bringing the archive to life. And two of the things that we did to keep, you know, doing things is the Feature Artist Scholar project and the Exhibitions project. So the Feature Artists and Feature Scholars would be a program where we feature an artist every month or every couple of months. We would conduct interviews with the artist. This is our latest feature, Bill Seaman. So we would kind of bring it forward, dig into the archive, and make a specific website or page with an interview and with some images, and then distribute it through the internet to kind of put spotlight on a specific artist or a scholar. And finally, exhibitions, which we started in 2016, and this is the exhibition curated by Christiana Paul, a remediated imaginary exhibition for the Code Doc exhibition that took place in the early 2000s at the Whitney Museum in New York. So we also can create exhibitions to put the spotlight on specific artworks. And that's it. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Rodrigo. And once again, thank you all for your presentations. And now we proceed to the questions. And maybe there are some comments or questions among the speakers themselves. So, do you have any? All right, if there are no comments so far, I would start with the questions that are more of a more general character, and they are addressed to all of the speakers. So maybe each of you could comment on them. And the first one is, what is your personal motivation for keeping the archives and doing the research? Rim, could you start, please?
Yeah, of course, the ISEA is a little bit my baby also, so you want to keep it alive, as it were, or save it for next generations. But as an important motive is, of course, that the art schools and other academic art institutions have libraries full of books and maybe also videos nowadays, but the electronic arts are not really, you have to search the web to find information about electronic art. It's not systemized too much. So what we are all doing is filling that gap. So the students are a very important motivation. And of course, not only students, but also researchers and artists that want to find colleagues that did similar work or work in the same vein.
Thank you. And Michael, what is your motivation?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the main motivation is, of course, to bring something or rescue something of these fantastic artworks that are created all over the world, and as well in special in the field that we are working as Ars Electronica, then to the past, because what I have just mentioned it, but I would say it or underline it again. It's really a fantastic treasure to look about these fantastic ideas and as well the creativity and the innovation. And it is really like looking at as well at these past artworks. This is one aspect to see how they addresses with this kind of technology that are available at this time certain say topics, and but of course at the other hand it's as well I think it's totally underestimated what the impact is about the digital artworks that are created all over the world in this time, in reflecting technology and in reflecting how to use technology in a way. And so this is the second thing that I'm really interested in, because I really think that it's like a trend barometer and a status barometer about technology that you can read out from these hundreds and thousands of artworks that are created all over the year with a lot of different technology. And so I think this as well is a topic that is really interesting me.
Thank you. And Anton and Yanina, you have touched upon this, upon your motivation a little bit in your presentation, but still, could you just summarize?
I think that's a question more for Anton, because as I said before, I'm stepping back. Yes, the last few years I'm more interested in media archaeological investigation researches. I'm researching Soviet cybernetic art, Soviet and Ukrainian Soviet light music. So yeah, maybe it's more question for Anton now. Yeah.
Thank you, Yanina, very much. For me, archiving is a place of constant contestation of any definition. What is media art? What is art? As I tried to explain during my presentation, we in Ukraine in kind of like outsider position, but on the other hand, we also in kind of position of where everything is possible to reinvent. And I think that it's very interesting that Yanina is still researching this underlying more ancient layers of Soviet tradition of cybernetic art, yeah, and let's say media archaeology. And also it's very interesting how the subculture of independent, non-institutional creator was emerged during the Soviet time, and how it keeps existing. Unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, I don't know for Ukraine, it's we slowly moved to the idea of what is contemporary art in the Western, how to say, concept. But on the other hand, for me, it's the trying to archive is trying to answer the question, what is media art in non-institutional context? And I think this Ukraine is the right place to answer this question. Thanks.
Thank you. And Rodrigo, the last but not least.
Yeah, thank you. No, for me, it's more of it's actually similar to what Anton is saying. For me, it's a matter of legitimization of these practices. I studied art history in the United States, and in a way, it's very classical and it's very canonical. So many of these digital art practices, even just light and cybernetic works from the 70s, are not really talked about, or they are not researched. So having this focus on archives is a way of like putting them back in history. And when I was in Austria, I also talked to many artists from the old generation, in the 90s, and they all had the idea of, you know, art is for the moment, and we just do whatever. But they all now, 20 years later, they are interested in like having their histories been written and their works being preserved and their works being documented and collected. So if you don't have that in an institutional way, then you know, this whole history is just erased. So it's a way of writing history.
Thank you. And there is a question to you, Rodrigo, from Anna Zelikova, but I think this question could also be addressed to all other speakers. The question is about how do you keep track of the audience, the visitors to the archive? And the question is about ADA, the Archive of Digital Art, but I think it could be relevant for ISEA Symposium Archive and Ars Electronica Archive and the Ukrainian open archive of Ukrainian Media Art. So how do you keep track of the visitors, and do you know anything about the average amount of average monthly amount of visitors to the websites?
This is very interesting. Actually, I guess this is the case for many of us. It's really a matter of how the archive is built. I don't know if like WordPress, for instance, offers some tools to keep track of that. ADA is built on custom-made software that doesn't do that, and I know that Professor Oliver Grau, who is the PI of the project, has done some reports in the past of like, yeah, we have this amount of new profiles created or visits in between these years, but it is not something that it's done automatically. So it's very difficult. But on the other hand, it's also a matter of priorities. And I know that because ADA particularly is more of an academic exercise and a scientific tool, as they say in Austria, it's not something that has been necessarily a priority, at least for ADA.
I know that the statistics of the website are available, except that we had some trouble with that recently. I think that our websites, because we have two, of course, now, one under construction and one practically complete. And we have like a couple of thousand unique visitors each month, which isn't incredibly many, but still for this, let's say, specialized subject, it's quite a lot. The thing is that we never officially launched the archive as with a big PR campaign, which I always wanted to do. But my colleagues said, let's wait till the new archive is finished. But that really takes a long time, and maybe by that time there will be a new reason to postpone it. But I keep pushing to bring it under the attention. By the way, what we didn't mention is that there is an initiative taken by Oliver Grau of ADA, that resulted in the summit that we held at ISEA 2020 on new media art archiving. And it's a principal agreement between ADA and ISEA, Ars Electronica, and the SIGGRAPH art show to cooperate. We did that for the summit, but we want to continue that. And if it has more structure, we will continue our cooperation and then slowly invite more archives to join in and build a network which is similar to the aims you have with this panel, I think. So that might be interesting.
That's great news. And Michael, what about Ars Electronica?
Yeah, I mean, of course, for this part of the archive I showed is about the online archive. We have some statistics. I cannot say any number now. I mean, of course, it's say a relevant number if you look at about statistics. But I mean, this is just a selection that we did in the sense that what was the need that we get, so to say, from the people outside, what we should at least to make it available online. I think the really one of the important parts is as well the other access to the archive that is not online available, because it's then the whole collection available, and this is, as I said, then open for collaborations and for research issues, and so I think of course. This has to be opened up as well, more as it is now. And yeah, I think that's it.
And Yanina and Anton, do you keep track of the visitors to your archive?
Yes, of course. Of course, we have all the numbers on the server, yes, of the website. I can tell you right now but actually I'm satisfied. I remember that I was satisfied completely, and I can show you just really briefly numbers that I can find right now for you. It's our Facebook page, yes, and I think it's quite popular too. As for the page of archive, of Media Art Archive, for example, this is our today event, yes, and we have 5 likes. I think it's quite good amount for this type of the page. And for example, we have this number of the follower, and I think it's also quite a good number, yeah. So that's all the numbers I can show you.
These numbers look promising. And now we go on with some personal questions. And the first is to Wim. What kind of personal data do you consider as relevant for artists and academics? Do you use the same structure for all participants?
Well, we collect the bios that the artists provide themselves. Maybe I can show it if it doesn't take too long. If you look at a person, not at a new person, but all persons. All people, pick one that has been at a number of ISEAs, and you will find his bio somewhere. I hope. Well, I don't work with this archive myself because I do the classic archive, but I showed you before that the classic archive has all these as a bio with each each present. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen, I think. Forget it. So at each symposium where somebody presents work, they will provide an actual short bio, and all these bios are collected in the new archive and put in a chronological order on the page where their profile is. So in that they provide their own data, but what is furthermore collected in the new archive is all their past and present affiliations and places where they work, where they have lived and are living right now, and the kind of art that they do, which I find very problematic. But that's still a choice of my colleagues. So they try to define that in bio art, robotic art, net art, etc. I find it problematic because artists nowadays often say I'm transdisciplinary or non-disciplinary. What category are you going to put those people in? I have a problem with putting people in boxes anyway. So I don't know if that was a very good answer to the question, but that's all I can say about it so quickly. Your microphone is off, Sophie.
Oh, excuse me. How is the process of preparing material for Catalogue organized? Also a question for Wim.
How is the material? Can you repeat the question?
How is the process of preparing the material for Catalogue organized?
Well, the point is that by the title of my presentation stressed the fact that it's a nomadic symposium, and that the interesting or complicating thing is that the symposium is organized by a different group of people each time, and that because it's in a different city each time, it's a city or an institute in that city, like an art school or another art organization, can propose a bid to the foundation of ISEA, and the best bid is chosen according to a number of criteria. And you can find those criteria on the website of ISEA International. Anyway, so that's the challenge of ISEA. A new group of people who have usually never organized an ISEA before will organize one and do it in their own way. And of course, we stimulate contact between the organizers of the year before and the year before that with the people who are organizing this year, so they will learn from it. But I have learned that typically those people want to do it in their own way. So they will re-event the wheel or make square wheels for a change, and add some wheels or etc. So it's always different, and there is no standard way how the catalogue is compiled. But in general, the main part of the symposium is based on an open call for papers and participation. Papers for the academic part and the participation for the artistic part. So people will send in a proposal to show their artwork or their performance or whatever, and they will illustrate that with images and video, and a little subcommittee of the organizers will compile a catalog from that.
Thank you. And the next question is to Michael. Is the artwork software included in the archive? And if so, how is it organized?
No, I tried to mention it. The artwork software is not included. So because this has a lot of implications if you include the software as well. So what we try to do with the artworks is to document it very, very detailed, but as well always in conjunction with the artist. So of course, sometime there is some code involved, so the software that is submitted for especially the pre-Ars Electronica artworks, but it's very, very seldom, and so it's more a relict from the past, and so nowadays, and as well, it totally depending on the category. So if you look at the different categories, then of course there are a lot of categories that are including, of course, somehow a software, because interactive art pieces, but as well hybrid, whatever you net art and things like that always include somehow code, but we don't store this code. And we as well, there is no need for the artists to give this code, so to say, away. Because it's not an archive to say designed to recreate an artwork as it was, because it's, from my point of view, not just difficult, it's really impossible. If I look back at artworks at the 80s, and so we have decided to not to include software.
I see. And next question to Anton and Yanina. Do you have plans for the next steps in development of the archive, and are you looking for funds for the further growth?
Anton, maybe you.
Right now, yeah, as should I tell about future project in of Ukrainian Museum?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Museum of Contemporary Art.
Okay, we all in Ukraine are waiting and dreaming about at least one institution which will be more or less stable in terms of not like media art, but contemporary art at all. And we hope that everything will following years will be closer than previous to this dream. And it's hopefully that our volunteer archive of Ukrainian media art will be included in this museum. And I must stress that I think that even though we have a lot of more or less possibilities of searching of European grants, especially after Maidan and Ukraine become more involved in European Union big framework project. Anyway, I think that state funding is very important for any archive, and it allows to maybe, yeah, there are kind of also problems with maybe state policy, state ideology even, but on the other hand, it also can allows to create more long-term project. And I think for Ukraine, it's very important question, because as Yanina also told in her presentation, we have kind of institutional amnesia in Ukraine, where previous generation didn't and have no connection to the following generation of media artists. And I think this archive should be kind of backbone, and to be backbone, to be like more stable institution, it's impossible to stay only on private or even kind of short-term grants. But at the moment, yeah, we are working on kind of joint project with initiative group who is working towards creation of Museum of Contemporary Art in Kyiv.
Thank you. And a question to Rodrigo about the ADA archive again. So how does ADA moderate or monitor website pages filled by the artists? Are they moderated anyhow?
Yeah, there's a few ways. First of all, anyone can apply, but not anyone can get in. So actually, they are always looking for new artists to apply. You have to have certain amount of exhibitions and some publications or something, but there is a panel that reviews that. So that's the first filter to have a selection of artists. Another way is that there are some keywords attached to artworks, and these keywords are predetermined. So you can upload your artwork, your documentation, and you can say this is a bio art, this is a sound art, but you cannot just create your own category. Unfortunately or fortunately, that's the way that the archive is done. So there are limitations in how free you can tag your work, but also there is open fields, like the description of the artwork can be whatever, and every so often there is some editing on, more like in the language, if there is some mistakes, because we also want artists that are not necessarily English speakers to participate. So there is some editorial work at some point. But other than that is really the artist words and the artist documentation.
Thank you. And maybe the last question to Wim and Michael. Do you keep the entries submitted by the artists, the entries for the festival, for the symposium that were declined? Do you keep the data of those artists?
Well, since Michael has to think hard about it, I can tell you that I organized the first 2 symposia, and the 7th one. They were all here in the Netherlands, and I kept all that stuff for a long time. But my house, I will not show it, but it's so full of this kind of stuff that it's driving me crazy. At a certain point, I had to throw them out. But I still have a lot of the videotapes. I really don't know what to do with them, because they were not accepted for ISEA. Still, I didn't want to throw them away. So I still have a cupboard or some shelves full of videotapes from 1990 and 96 of people that entered something and it did not get into the symposium. Anyone wants to have them?
It's also a real treasure. I think you have to create a physical archive, just like Ars Electronica.
Yeah, I mean, just to answer it from my side, I mean, there is, in that sense, all the submissions that come into the pre-Ars Electronica are stored in a way. So there are, I mean, of course, there are a lot of, say, around the festival and around the symposiums of the festival and things like that. There is a lot of communication that, say, is around the organization of such a huge event, and of course there was an exchange of a lot of different stuff in this phase, and this is of course not stored in the archive, but all around the pre-Ars Electronica is really stored. I mean, you see in the online archive just say this selection of 10 projects that are more or less the awarded projects inside the category, and not the hundreds of other projects that are stored in the archive but not accessible online.
And maybe I can add a little thing, because I know time is up. I just talked about the symposia that I was involved in myself in the organizing, but the other 23 that were held, as I said, this is a problem of a nomadic symposium. There were never any rules about having to keep this stuff, and not always these people that organized it were able to save all that stuff, just like me. We have no means. So, and since it's spread all over the world, I think that many of the of those proposals were thrown out, not saved. Maybe some symposia have saved them, but since our archives are for a large part a reconstruction after the fact, we are constantly hunting for images and videos and other and information of artworks from the first half of the ISEA history. And it's and here and there something comes out of a corner, but it's not systematically saved. So this is a bit of a problem.
Thank you very much. I think we have to round up, although there are many more questions and very interesting questions to discuss. And on behalf of our project team, I would like to express our cordial thanks to the speakers and to the audience. And I would like to remind that today's panel doesn't draw the bottom line, but rather opens the major discussion of a number of acute questions. And of course, today there has not been enough time for to go in deep, but we will continue on December the 5th, when we will have the second part of this roundtable dedicated to the local context, Russian context, and during subsequent public events of our project. And the stage 1 of our project will be completed by June 2021. Then we will present the beta version of the online platform to access the open database of interdisciplinary art in Russia with a basic set of research tools, and we hope to develop later and visualize. And the feedback is very important to us, so should you have any further questions, ideas for cooperation, or now I'm addressing to the students and the artists in the first place, if you have a wish to take part in the project as volunteers, please contact us via the email that will now appear in the stream, and follow the page of our project in Facebook not to miss future events. So thank you very much once again for being with us, and stay tuned.
Thank you. It was nice.
Thank you.
Thanks.